Linda has joined us, maybe Jay as well.
Hello.
There's Linda.
How are you?
Good.
Jay is not here. He will be here soon, though.
All right. All right.
All right, so we're gonna get started here. Let me set up the presentation. This is also streaming on Zoom, so if you don't mind being on camera, if not, you don't have to use your camera. We got two David Glesneys,
Yeah,
so I guess that's your protege.
we cloned one.
I don't know if it's the case, but actually there are two David Glesneys. My
Yeah,
my first cousin named his son David. Many years later, he confided to me and said, Dave, when we named our son David, I'd forgotten there was another David.
all right, I'm gonna mute everybody so we don't get interrupted. Everybody else will be muted as they roll in. Welcome, everyone. So if you're just joining, um, this is a continuation of the Virtues Campus national launch here for the United States. We're picking up from last week where David explained the vision to retake education by micro colleges by the means of converting churches into what we call a Christian community college. It that helps people understand pretty clearly what we're about and what we're doing. And so today he's going to dive into the pitch deck. It shouldn't take us more than about 20 minutes. And then Chris Figueroa is an academic mentor here with us from New Jersey. So he'll be sharing and we'll be doing a Q&A. So after the presentation, if you don't have any questions or if you don't want to stay on any longer, you don't have to. But we're going to try to take advantage of this time. So we may go the whole hour, we may not, depending on how much engagement there is. But these campaigns take a significant amount of time to mobilize and get people involved. So we like to take as many questions and field them as we can. So David, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
David, you're muted.
There, now can you hear me? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Um, well, I want to welcome you to the second week of our month-long Virtues Campus national launch. I was encouraged and heartened by the response after our first session last week, and thank you for carving out this time again to be with us this evening. Now, I realize that maybe most of you, many of you are quite familiar with the Virtues Campus, having heard about it, reference perhaps, but I also realize that for many others who will be listening to this presentation, it is not familiar. And so I'm wanting to keep in mind both audiences, those who already know something, but those who don't know much at all. Before we get to the pitch deck, I want to give a little more context. Just a word about the big picture, historical background of the Virtues Campus. The model has grown out of Vishal Mangalwadi's vision for church-based colleges as he first fleshed out his idea in Appendix 3 of his book, Truth and Transformation. It's a vision for local churches becoming educational centers of their communities. It's really a strategy for the local church taking back education from the secular university to the original space that God meant for education, and that is the family and the church. The Virtues Campus model is an attempt then to begin to put that vision into practice. I like to say it's where the jumbo jet of the third education revolution touches the tarmac, where the vision becomes concrete, where it turns into a strategy, where the vision and the strategy is implemented. Just a little bit more history. In 2014, a few of us in the Minneapolis-St. Paul, Minnesota area asked Vishal Mangalwadi to come to Minnesota and to spend a summer with us. Our small group had been reading two of his books for a number of weeks and discussing them. And we had read Appendix 3 of Truth and Transformation. And there was something that was stirring in our hearts and minds. We wondered if we could perhaps implement that vision of church-based colleges here in Minnesota, starting in the United States. So we asked him to come and to spend the summer with us. He came and spent 10 weeks with us during that summer of 2014. And during that 10-week period, we just picked his brain. We questioned him. We probed him. We asked him to give us his best thoughts on how this might be implemented, why it was needed. Well, at the end of that summer, we had a founders breakfast with maybe 30, 40 movers and shakers here in the Twin Cities area. And we decided to take the step of forming a board and seeing if we could put this into practice. So at the end of 2014, the beginning of 2015, I stepped aside from pastoring a 2-point congregation here in the Minneapolis area. And the next 2 years were spent working on developing what became known as the Virtues Campus model. We went through a naming process. We came up with the name Virtues. During that next year and a half, 2 years, we refined the model. We probed it. We decided how it might look. We made some advances. We made some mistakes. We made those corrections. During that time, we developed the curriculum of 10 core courses. We identified our first partner university. And so we partnered with our first partner university. And I became the first academic pastor. I did so very intentionally because I wanted to know firsthand what was involved in being an academic pastor. I wanted to speak out of the circle of my own experience. And so I became the first academic pastor, piloting the first campus here in the Twin Cities with a small group of students. When we started communicating this new approach to a wider audience, this approach to higher education, we struggled in how to communicate the new paradigm. The Virtues Campus is kind of new concept. It's out of the box. There are many different moving parts, and it was difficult to communicate in short order what was all involved. You know, I could talk with somebody for 20 minutes, and then at the end of 20 minutes, I could see the light bulbs going on in their minds. Now I see how it all fits together. But I didn't always have 20 minutes. What we found in communicating with people so that they could grasp it more quickly was to refer to the Virtues Campus with the 3 words Christian, community, college. You'll notice there's a period after each one. So we're saying something a little different than Christian Community College, but there is that echo of what we know in our own experience of a community college. It's similar. We are Christian, we are community, we are college. And so people said, you're Christian. In other words, we could tell them that we are working in a biblical framework, that we are putting education within a biblical framework. It's a community. It's a local church-based community strategy. It's in the local area, the local church. And it's a 2-year program. It's a college-age program in a local setting. So we were able to, in speaking of Christian Community College, communicate much more quickly about who we were and what we were about. That resonated with people. And then we could go on to explain it more quickly in a way that they could comprehend. Now, as we think about implementing the vision, the strategy, I think there are 3 steps that we need to keep in mind in going forward. First of all, it is simply embracing the vision, embracing the strategy of micro universities, micro colleges embedded in local churches or in local sites. The need for it, the vision. Second, to implement that model more widely in the American context. We have a vision of multiplying Virtues campuses in hundreds and thousands of churches throughout the United States. And then thirdly, implementing the model in other nations. We have more recently had inquiries from other parts of the world, and people have they've come to us and said, can you help us? And so we are starting, the Lord willing, campuses in 2026 in Bulgaria, in Kenya, in India, and possibly in Argentina as well. So it has moved beyond just our own borders and is a model that is being sought to being implemented in other contexts. So what is the issue that we are facing? Let me start broad and then narrow it down. For 1,000 years in the Western world, education was the domain of the church. Theology was the queen of the sciences. That means that everything was seen through a biblical lens. Law, science, medicine, education. Education was the natural habitat of the church. The church was the natural habitat of education in the Western world. But as time went on, distortions and corruption crept in over time. After igniting the renewal of the church in the Protestant Reformation with the rediscovery of the doctrine of justification by grace through faith, Martin Luther then turned to the reforming of the universities. His rediscovery of the doctrine of the priesthood and the kingship of all believers birthed modern education, equipping everyone, even the lowest of women and children, to be able to commune directly with God by reading the Bible. So he democratized education in Germany, and then it spread beyond that. So in the wake of that impetus, churches in the 16th and 17th centuries began widespread instruction, making their populace literate. When we come across the pond to America, in early America, 116 of the first 118 colleges and universities on American soil were started by church leaders. You know, we think of the Pilgrims coming to Plymouth Colony in 1620. 16 weeks later, they birthed Harvard University. They came with the understanding of the importance of education in this new land. And so the early church in America discipled their nation, this nation, through colleges and universities that they birthed. But in time, again, the church gave over education to the state. And now we are faced with the situation we are in. We're faced with universities that are enveloped in the religion of secularism, which by definition omits God. So post-secondary education has been outsourced to education institutions that are no longer accountable to the Christian family or to the local faith community. I said last week, if I send my daughter to the university and she comes home a neo-Marxist, who do we hold accountable? Or if I send my son to the university and he comes back a girl, who do we hold accountable? In other words, we have outsourced our young people to professors who don't believe in truth. And those professors, when our young people leave us in our churches, they are discipling our youth. They are teaching our youth. So what is the challenge and what is the need in front of us? The challenge can be said this way: how do we return governance of education to the space God created for it, that is, the family and the church? How do we return the power dynamics back to the client? Our proposed solution is the Virtues Campus approach. In other words, establishing local sites as educational centers of their communities. You can go ahead and advance the slide, Zachary. There we go. The Virtues Campus links high schools, homeschool co-ops, local churches with accredited partner universities, providing students a pathway to a BA degree that eliminates huge college debt. The Virtues Campus model. The Virtues Campus is a champion of local governance of education. The nuts and the bolts: students meet for local in-person classes and take online courses simultaneously. We are shadowing the Oxford-Cambridge tutorial model. Students earn their degree from the partner university, but receive mentorship and tutoring at the local level. The Virtues Campus is not accredited, but we partner with accredited universities, and our students gain their fully accredited degree from the partner universities. We call these mentoring and tutoring persons at the local level academic pastors or academic mentors. They walk with the students for the 2 years that they're on the local Virtues Campus. They mentor the students. They have the teaching role. They facilitate learning. They hold students accountable spiritually, morally, and educationally. A key element to the model is the mentoring aspect at the local level. We believe that the purpose of education is something very specific. We have sought to include the purpose of education into our very name, the Virtues Campus. You know, we read in 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 5, "For this very reason, make every effort to supplement your faith with virtue and virtue with knowledge." So virtue in our name communicates our belief that virtues and veritas, truth and character, need to be integrated into the competencies of skills and knowledge. That there are God-given virtues: justice, mercy, love, courage, honesty, generosity, that must be recovered in education and then preserved. Education, we believe, is not just the transmission of knowledge, but the process of forming wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So it's infusing wisdom back into that whole educational process. The Virtues Campus method. The Virtues Campus guides students on their pathway to a 4-year degree, if that is the pathway that they're on. Some will come out of a Virtues Campus experience with an Associate of Arts degree and go into the trades. Others may go directly into the workforce. Others will be on that pathway to a 4-year college degree. Career readiness training helps students understand God's design in their life, which gives direction to career choices. The 2-year program leads to an Associate of Arts degree, which is then taken and applied to a BA degree at a 4-year university. That could be a continuation of taking online courses in the partner university, or they can take their Associate of Arts degree to another four-year university and apply it to a BA degree there. A word about program design. How does it work? Well, students enroll in a local Virtues campus and an accredited partner university at the same time. On the local campus, students take courses that are Christ-centered and couched in a biblical worldview. There are basically 3 tracks during the 2-year period. Each of them consists of 4 courses, a semester in length each. There's a career readiness track. That begins with an online assessment that every student takes even before they begin, which generates a 33-page report. Then that student then sits down with a 2-hour consultation with a certified career direct consultant and walks through and explains what the assessment is showing about the student. That forms the foundation of the 4 courses during the next 2 years, helping students understand how God has designed them, how God has wired them, what are their strengths. It focuses on personality and interests, skills and values. A student comes to a much greater understanding who God has made them to be. And when they understand God's design in their life, they can come out of those 2 years with a much better understanding of a career direction and making choices from that point on. That track involves vocation. We want to center on the biblical understanding of vocation, what God's calling in their life is. And then we have a course there also on servant leadership. So that's the career readiness track. A second track is the worldview track. The first course is basically an apologetics course, what Christians believe and why we believe what we believe. A second course centers on competing worldviews that the students are going to encounter out there in the world. And so we look at Islam and secularism and Marxism and new spirituality and postmodernism. They're going to encounter these philosophies out there in the world, and so we want them to know about them so that when they do encounter them, they will understand what they're encountering. Then there's also a course in that track on social engagement. How do we take the truth of God's word and apply it to the great issues of the day? Sexuality, environmentalism, and all the issues that we are facing in our day to day. The third track is 2 years of Bible, an Old Testament survey and a New Testament survey. We look at the major themes of the 2 Testaments, look at cultural backgrounds, and students come out of that 2 years with an understanding more of the biblical teaching of biblical history. Their own faith is fed as they study the scriptures, and they also understand the importance of how the scriptures have shaped Western civilization that we live in. And then fourthly, also there's a course on personal finance and some basic life skills. How do you sew a button on a dress? How do you make a menu? How do you rent an apartment? How do you change oil in an engine? Our academic mentors become very creative in looking at just some basic life skills that students are going to need as they go out and become effective in just life itself. So 6 to 25 students attend classes then at the local church, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, under trained and qualified academic mentors. The partner universities, we have 5 partner universities currently. We want to grow this list as we go forward, but these are the ones that we have a partnership with right now. Crown College in St. Bonifacius, Minnesota, Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida, William Jessup University, Rockland, California, Calvary Chapel University, Sun City, Arizona, and Waldorf University in Forest City, Iowa. There are 2 basic groups of students that we target. as potential students for Virtue's campus. First, there's the dual enrollment group. These are juniors and senior high school students, homeschool students. When they become students at a Virtue's campus in their junior and senior year, they earn credits through the in-person Virtue's courses, which then transfer into the partner university and are applied to an AA degree at the end of those 2 years. The online courses count towards high school diploma and an AA degree as well. So they're taking the classes at the local setting and they're taking online courses. And at the end of the 2 years, these junior and seniors in high school can graduate from high school at the same day as they earn an Associate of Arts degree. And that's really tremendous. You graduate from high school already halfway through your college career with an Associate of Arts degree. Think of the costs that you're saving. Think of the time. You can get out 2 years ahead of your peers into the workforce. There are just so many advantages of being able to graduate from high school and have an AA degree at the same time. The second group are those students that have completed their high school and then they come to us for their first 2 years of college. Students earn an accredited AA degree, which is 60 credits in 2 years from the partner university. The Virtues in-person courses earn credits and transfer into the partner university. That's 30 credits. 15 credits are earned from the partner university in their online courses. And then the additional 15 credits are earned either from the partner university through additional courses, or there may be other sources. You have earned some credit in some other way, and they can be transferred into the AA degree as well. So the dual enrollment students, junior and seniors in high school, and then the second group are high school graduates. Just a word about the business plan. This college program is designed to be funded through student tuition. Each campus site receives a stipend based on the number of students enrolled in their campus each semester. The campus site then pays the salary of the academic mentor, if an assistant is needed, and if there are utility and facility costs that need to be covered as well. All this leads to a really significant cost reduction. First of all, Virtue's campus credits, the 30 credits that are earned in the local site, are extremely low cost. The college credits from the partner university can be very low based upon national averages. In other words, our partner universities give our Virtue students a cost reduction for being in partnership with them. What that means is you avoid interest payments on some or all college debt. We have students that have gone through 2 years with us and they have come out college with no debt, no college debt. And again, that's really something today when you are halfway through a 4-year college program and the first 2 years you come out with no debt. We encourage our students to work part-time and they can work their way then through that, covering the costs of those first 2 years. You're saving, of course, at least 2 years of room and board at a brick and mortar school because our students are living at home and they're driving to the local site. As I mentioned, they can enter the workforce as much as 2 years earlier than their peers because they get through college 2 years earlier. They really can graduate in 4 years or less. You go on a lot of websites of university and they talk about 5 and 6 years to earn a BA degree. Because of the mentoring, because of the close mentoring that the partnership university does and helping the students on the track of a degree, they are choosing courses that they need rather than extraneous courses that they don't need. If a student goes to a university and they don't know what they want to be when they grow up, they're most likely going to end up taking a lot of courses that in the end they will never have needed to have taken. And all those courses have just piled up the debt. With this very intentional counseling and mentoring, we can guide students and we can get them through in 4 years. Students don't have to switch majors, which is on an average of 2.2 today. College students change their majors. They take a lot of wasted classes. And that really can translate into savings between $20,000 and $60,000 over 4 years. So just in closing, the scalability of the model. As I mentioned, we want to multiply Virtue's campuses in denominational churches all across the United States. There are 3,148 counties in the United States. We'd love to plant a Virtue's campus in every one of them so that they can be within reach of students. The vision of the Virtue's campus is to plant a campus in every county in America. This task will require the collaboration of entities such as high schools, homes co-ops, churches, even retreat centers and Bible camps. Any of these can be sites of birthing a Virtue's campus. So I think I will pause there and turn it back to you, Zachary, for questions and answers. And
Before we go into that, it'd be great if Chris could just share his experience as a academic mentor to give people a snapshot of what a day in a life is and maybe why you started doing this. Okay, we're not hearing you, Chris, for some reason.
I'm sorry.
There you
I have two mute buttons on. So I have this mute and my mic mute. No, I've been an academic mentor for this is my third cohort, so my third year. And I started doing this because when it was presented to us at a church, you guys had Jay on last week, and Linda. So Jay was the first one to start, and I saw this as an opportunity to really. It was actually kind of selfish, to be honest with you. It was like really to hone my skills as a pastor because I was looking for an opportunity to teach more, right? And I was already teaching at the undergrad level at Calvary Chapel University. So when I saw this opportunity, then when it was presented to me as more of a discipleship type of program, vocation driven, which is really important because a lot of times when kids go to college, they're really not vocation driven. They're like, well, I kind of want to do this one thing, but then they do switch back and forth. And I saw an opportunity here to really help young people critically think about their faith because I've noticed that many young people don't really know the first thing about their faith. And they usually get crushed within their first 2 years at any university. And I've seen it time and time again when parents do send their kids off to various universities. And offering this opportunity for people that are coming in at 17 years old or 16 years old in their junior year to allow them to be 2 years ahead dramatically increases the chances of them getting a position earlier on, them going for higher degrees, higher education, like a master's degree. And since it's a small cohort, it's manageable for the pastor. So as pastors, we are constantly honing our skills. So you may be teaching like on a Wednesday or on a weekly basis, but when you're teaching various areas of theology and apologetics, you're constantly sharpening your skills. So I've actually had probably more benefit than the students, but all my students have gone on to do wonderful things. Some have gone into the culinary area, to business, to design, to literature. Some have gone to the ministry to go be missionaries. So I just see this program as really the future of the church because we are losing so many young people. And as I see my children grow, my children are little, as I see them grow up, I'm like, well, what's their opportunity when we go on to college or to higher education? And this provided me as a parent, as a future, like this is what we're going to do because we're a homeschool family. And I want my children to have the best possible education, but I also don't want them to be corrupted by any isms we can come up with. So I've had a tremendous opportunity to teach, to mentor, and to teach various things. Like David was discussing, like life skills. We were able to teach kids how to change a tire. There's so many kids that just don't know how to change a tire or how to change a flat, how to sew, how to cook. I owned a martial arts school for a number of years, so I was able to teach them self-defense, along with teaching them theology, apologetics, worldview, vocation. And it's not really as hard as people think once you get into the routine of this. And once you get into that routine, it's pretty simple. It's simple because you're doing what you're called to do as a discipler of young disciples, and you get to engage with their lives. And again, because it's smaller, you get to know everyone. And I'm sure you guys have been in like college courses where there's like 100 people. It's not 100 people. I know all their names. I know their parents. I know what their likes and dislikes were and are. I know about what they want to do with their lives. And it's really that how Jesus spent time with the 12 disciples. He got to know them intimately. So we have a very intimate and ongoing relationship currently. So I just see this as a blessing, both for the academic mentor and for the students.
That's great. So if anybody has any questions, you could type those in the chat. I see some of you asked about the videos. We have a YouTube channel. Just type in Virtues Campus, and they'll come right up. So they're actually live streaming right now to Vishal Mangalwadi's channel. But if anybody has any questions, you could either type it in the chat and I can field them, or you can unmute yourself because we only have about 15 people here, so it shouldn't be too difficult. If you have questions for either the academic mentor, or, Chris can help field those questions, and David.
Yeah, I don't
So
see the
just
chat, so I'll ask my question. I was just curious about starting out. How do you recruit? Because you've got to have at least 6 people, and if you had any comments on that whole question.
Yeah, recruiting's always the fun part at the beginning because we're not used to recruiting. But you recruit through your local church, and I'm going to use business terms for now just to keep it simple. Is your warm market the people you know? I receive certain students just by having a general conversation of what I'm doing. You'd be surprised how many parents are looking for something like this because one, the cost savings is huge, especially when you're talking to people that are still in high school, dual enrollment students, ones that have not graduated high school. This is like kind of a slam dunk for them when they're paying less than $10,000 for an entire year, and they're getting all the personalized mentorship on top of all of their materials. So recruiting through your warm market, your local church, and through various homeschool organizations, and really contacting them. Those are the ones that's the low hanging fruit for you. And then through there, word of mouth tends to. So my first year, I had 15 students, and we really didn't do much. We talked to a few people, and it was kind of like a short span, and we were able to generate 15 new students that first year for me, which after only 3 months of marketing was not bad, we'll say. So does that answer your question, Mark?
You're muted, Mark.
Yeah, pretty much. I had another question also. I know you do some training of the academic pastors. I believe I think I heard rightly at some point, might have been in the past, that you do this in Minnesota.
Yeah, there's that we do 4 sessions. So it's not training per se. It's more of a preparation. And so they're about an hour each. And so it takes you through the LMS, which we use Populi. So they're one of the leading LMSs out there, and so they have a
And what is
great
an LMS for the
a
ignorant
learning
among us?
management system. Chris could
Okay.
expound on it if you.
Yeah.
Now
So
you
you're going to
do
school.
this in Minnesota, or you do this online?
Yeah,
No, we do it
Mark,
through Zoom. We do it through Zoom would be the
Okay.
easiest way to do it. So we would do the first 2 with you, as soon as you, like after this is a 4-week campaign that we're doing right now. So we have 2 more weeks. Next week, we're going to do an academic mentor deep dive. So for those of you that are still interested after this, you can come on next week and we'll go into that in more detail. And then the final week, we're going to talk about sites, scenarios, and the different teams. Like, Chris, it was easy for his church because the lead pastor was actually, sharing this vision that the church discipleship is education, and vice versa. So, uh, once we get done the campaign, we'll have some sessions. So we'd like to try to group people together if possible and stuff like that. And we could take you to the first 2 sessions of the preparation and stuff like that if you have all the other credentials and interested at that point.
Mark, let me add a couple comments on both your questions. First of all, on recruiting. Um, Again, I would reemphasize what Chris said. The homeschool co-ops in your area, connect with the leaders of those and just ask if you can go and give a 20-minute presentation to the homeschool co-op when they gather together, as they do regularly. I would also go to clergy associations and talk to the pastors. I would let other pastors and churches in the area know that what we're doing. Um, so there's that avenue. And then concerning the pastor training, in the early years, first 2 or 3 years, we had all of the academic pastors fly to Minnesota and spend 2 days. Chris was one of those. And we covered everything from A to Z during those 2 days. They stayed in our home and we had 2 days. Since that time, we've gone to having to have those orientations via Zoom. And like Zachary was saying, usually that comprised of 4 one-hour sessions. And again, we cover all the nuts and the bolts of everything that's involved in leading a Virtues campus on the local site.
So the one of the ways that makes this easy to scale is if you have a bigger church, if you have a community church, that has you know, quite a bit of people in it. Uh, that's what makes it work. And having the eldership or the leadership sharing this vision makes it easy to transition and to recruit students once they see that the leaders have endorsed it. So if there's anybody that you think we should um, reach out to, we're going to send out some emails later that ask you some survey questions and stuff like that. You could input that data. But any other questions? You could just unmute yourself and
I see a couple
we have
questions in
there-
the chat.
there's over 250 course offerings through the 5 universities, and on average, it's about $10,000 a year. That's a national average. So some places will be a lot cheaper, especially dual enrollment credits are a lot cheaper. And then if you get a cohort of 25 students, this is just me giving you guys a snapshot. You can make up to $66,000 a year. And that's just 3 days a week for about 10 hours approximately, and then that's 3 hours of classroom time, 3 days a week, and then whatever else it takes in terms of mentoring and the other elements of it. So we're going to get into detail those in the coming weeks. So you said there was some questions that you needed to answer, Chris?
I see
Or-
some questions in the chat. So,
Yeah, you could just go ahead and answer any of them.
okay. So, Todd, do you want to just ask your question so everyone can hear it?
Sure, yeah. I think I had a couple questions related to the role of the academic mentor, which is
Mhm.
how Chris has been one of his roles, and then how that compares to the academic pastor. I'm just trying to get a handle on the language. I read David Gleason's chapter in the Third Education Revolution book, and I didn't remember seeing the academic mentor role named there, but maybe that's equivalent to something else there. So just trying to get a
No,
little clarity on some of that.
it's actually the same. I do the marketing, so that was my call to, because a lot of people, they kept getting tripped up about being an actual ordained minister and pastor and actually having a
Okay.
church, when really you just need to have the degree. You really need to, like, if because you're becoming an adjunct professor in a sense. So as long as our partner universities see you as qualified, then we'll work with you.
Todd, they're synonymous, Todd.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
And just kind of an evolution. We've had many conversations with churches in South America, and you do not use the term academic pastor in that cultural context because
Yes.
it gets the wrong idea. So then we kind of began to use the word mentor, and
Mhm.
now it's one and the same. And I use them six at one time, six in the other time.
Mhm.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
It scales easier because, anybody could be a mentor and stuff like that. You don't have to be an ordained pastor, and you don't have to have a church. But this model's built for the church. Like, that's how it was, conceptualized in the beginning. But
Yes.
we have people that are doing it, look to do it at high schools and stuff like that. And yeah, like I said, not all of them are actually pastors. Chris is a pastor, and so
Mhm.
people, like, we give people the freedom, to use whatever title they want if they're comfortable with that. We have people in India, they don't want to use that term. They like academic mentor, and so we're giving people the
Yes.
freedom to choose what they want. There is a little confusion just because we got into that in terms of changing it. So, any other
Okay.
questions or thoughts, comments?
I had one
Todd,
more question.
Did you have a second question, Todd?
Well, I did have just a quick question about, there's subject matter experts as well. Are those mostly the people that you see, in the university settings that are running those courses, or are you also sometimes having, sort of experts beyond the academic mentor or pastor, that are also involved in teaching classes at the local church or at some local gathering? And do all those people need to have at least a master's degree? Um, if they're teaching people at the BA level? Just a couple questions about that.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Um, the academic pastor, we'll use the word pastor. The academic pastor in the U.S. context, well, in each of the contexts, really becomes an adjunct faculty member of the partner university because the partner university is the one that's granting the degree. So we have to live under their requirements for academic pastors. Some of our partner universities require a master's degree in order to be an academic pastor. A couple others require only a bachelor's degree. So it depends on the partner university. I will say the 10 courses that are taught over the 2-year period at the local site, they are a turnkey sort of curriculum. They're quite easy to teach. All the helps are there, the syllabus is there, teaching guides, everything. And so obviously we want academic pastors to have biblical knowledge, especially in the Old and New Testament areas. Some people ask, well, can you team teach? In other words, I'm not strong in this particular area. I want to be an academic pastor, but I don't feel quite as qualified in this area. Can someone else come in under your directorship and teach that course? Yes. Team teaching is possible. But again, to answer the question, many require a master's degree, others just a bachelor's degree.
Okay, so how much freedom do we have to change the curriculum? So, like some people in India, for instance, they don't want to teach American history because they're in India. So they would swap that out, and it takes about a month for like SEU is who we're using internationally because they have Missio, and that's an organization that does their missions, education as mission. And so any country that we work with, they can swap out the courses that don't work for their context. So, and also like Chris has an idea of developing a church history, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, so doing something like that. So there is the ability to create curriculum wherever, whatever context you're on, and we expect that, just like different states,
Mhm.
they might build it out. But we're an AA program, and so we have a rate with each of the universities that is specific to that first 2 years of college. But I'm not sure if we know what is beyond that in terms of Chris. Have you had students continue on, and was the rate locked in, or was it adjusted? Was it discounted rated if they go the whole 4 years with the partner university if they go beyond
Mo-
the AA program?
Yeah, I know CCU specifically maintains a 50% discount for their tuition, which is huge. Um, I'm not 100% sure about SCU, but I know CCU definitely holds that 50% discount, and most colleges will maintain that because they have a student locked in, and that's the idea. Because in typical community college, you're transferring, they're locked into a 4-year university. There's no transferring, so they're a lock to finish their BA degree. So most of the time when they have that discount, they'll usually maintain it. They probably won't get a dual enrollment because they're high school grads now, so they actually don't qualify for it. But some universities will maintain a certain discounted level, and I've known other universities to maintain those same discounts. I do want to just point out about changing the curriculum. The one thing I love about this program too is that it doesn't matter what denomination you are. And because somebody might have a different eschatological belief, something on last things. You can tailor the curriculum to what you believe. Let's say if you're post millennial or amill or pre mill, no one really cares, as long as you're still maintaining the core tenets of the faith. So you do have some wiggle room as you teach, which is any professor would at the college level. You have wiggle room. So you do have the ability to change slight things in the curriculum. And I know David and I have spoken at length about this, and myself and Pastor Jay really discussed how we can make this as theologically neutral, specifically for any denominational purpose.
I have
Hector,
the way I
what
like
country
to,
are you in? Go ahead, David.
yeah, the way I like to think of that is that we do have the curriculum, but the academic mentor, the academic pastor is usually part of that denominational persuasion, and they bring their perspective to their teaching, which is just natural, and that is the flexibility of the material.
I wanted to ask how the students wind up at one of these particular colleges. How do they select that college? Do they go online and look at all 5 of them, or what do they do?
Jay, maybe you could tell them about the Career Direct, how that works. Or Chris, sorry. I said Jay.
It's because we have the same haircut. That's why.
Yeah, that's it. There you go.
So they go through Career Direct, and Dr. Markshausen has to give her assessment and what this student their spiritual gifts and what career path would be necessary or better for this student. So as they find out what God's calling them to do vocationally, we help them choose which university best fits that vocation. So if they're called to be, let's say, a pastor, well, we have Calvary Chapel University. We have so let's say they go through a pastoral role, or if they want to go into mathematics, maybe they go to SCU. Whatever university will push them that way. And because they already have the agreement with us, once they get qualified with us, they actually can get qualified and apply for the partner university. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah, and just
I have to
to
think about it
clarification,
some more.
a clarification, let's say you have 15 students in your cohort,
Mhm.
6 of them might be partnered with partner university A, 2 of them might be partnered with partner university B. They all are not needing to be partnered with the same university.
I didn't, yeah, I didn't think that. Suppose you have a bunch of students and you've got them in all these 5 different universities. Does that mean that you have to be accepted as an adjunct at all these 5 different universities?
Then we have to live up to the requirements of each of the partner university. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with SEU, there's 30 courses that are all completely online. So um, you can be international. So I know Hector had been asking some questions about proficiency and stuff. So people in India are looking to do this, but our core curriculum, they would only be able to do it in some of the urban areas where they're basically at the same testing standards, because some of the rural areas it would be over their heads. And so that would probably be the same for a lot of different nations. But then, I mean, there's a lot of different nations that are more advanced than us in academics. So that wouldn't be everywhere, but just in places like in India, it works well. They're doing it with homeschool moms in the cities, Mumbai, which is the educational capital, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi. And so places like that, it's easy to do our curriculum because they're at the same place, and their 11th and 12th grade, so that they can easily do the coursework, because a lot of this is um, they're self they're doing it themselves. There's the academic mentors there. Maybe Chris can expound upon that more, the role of the academic mentor, helping people that maybe need a little more help in their work, their coursework.
Yeah, I had a few or a couple students that had some learning disabilities, and they had IEPs. So the one thing that we could do is, for example, one student, she had a couple issues with reading comprehension just because of her dyslexia. So what I did was I did a verbal test with her. So I tailor my teaching style to each individual student. And I think that's better, because if you teach one way, I don't know how many of you have sat in a lecture hall. Most of us have, right? It gets kind of boring pretty quickly. But teaching those various students who are having various learning disabilities and really tailoring the subject matter to their understanding is absolutely doable, because again, we have a smaller cohort. We don't have massive cohorts. If we have 100-person class, we can't individually teach those people. But if we have, say, 10 to 20 or 25, we can tailor all those need. We can tailor the needs to the student.
Have you ever had students that just couldn't cut it and you had to flunk them?
Not really. No, I've not had because with a little bit of extra work, usually they get it, because here's the transition. The transition is when you have someone going from sophomore year of high school to college, right? So now it's like, whoa, hold on, I'm in college now. I have to write some papers. I have to do some tests. The first few months is a lot of like, hey, you got make sure you do this. Make sure you have your test this week. Make sure you're doing this. Once they get after about the first 1 to 2 months, they start flowing pretty easily. So I haven't had to flunk anyone, because I will provide extra help. I will be able to sit with that person, help them through the material. And because of the small cohort, we can actually have more discussions within class and then engage in certain discussions and debate. So I haven't had to be able to flunk anyone yet. I just leave it at yet.
Can you talk about record keeping?
Sure.
All that kind of thing.
Yeah. So record keeping, you're talking about academically grades, correct?
Yes, and like I'm assuming there's got to be something reported to these colleges, or just what?
Yeah, the administration, the LMS, basically, how that functions, keeping track of, make sure the students are doing their coursework.
Yes, and this is what Linda's here for too. Uh, Linda and Wanda, they put together the courses for us. So the LMS, they take everything through the learning management system. The learning management system, for example, if they have a test of, let's say, 15 questions, they take the test, right, and it automatically grades it because you already have it set up that way. And then there's certain tests that have like open-ended questions. You go in there, you grade the test, right, and then those tests all those grades stay within the LMS. The LMS is like it's your one-stop shop for all your classes. So you can go to each one of your courses, and as a student takes whatever uploads whatever assignments or takes whatever test, it keeps that it maintains that grade. Once that semester is done, we can send a transcript directly to the university because what they're accepting are credits. That's really what's happening. So all that record keeping is all electronic, and then we can just forward everything directly to the partner university.
And who does that actually forwarding? The academic pastor or what? Who?
As right now, it's our administrative, which it would be Linda and
That's actually me. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
Linda does it.
I would actually be the one to, I work with the partner university, and we are the ones that exchange transcripts to each other, along with the student and the student's parents. If that, in the beginning of the year, the kids all sign consent forms, and because some of them may be high school graduates and they may be of age. And if they don't want their parents to be involved in their educational journey, they have a right to say, I don't want you to speak to my parents about my transcripts. But 9 times out of 10, the parents are the ones paying the tuition. And so they're the ones that want to be involved in what the grades look like and what the transcripts look like. So, based on that consent form, that gives us the right virtues to send transcripts to the partner universities and vice versa, because they also sign a consent form saying that the partner university consents transcripts to us. So we have all that paperwork on file, and that's something that we do on our end to get that information to the university and to the students. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, and
The-
kind of related to it, where do the parents write the check? Where does the money go initially?
That is given to the campus directors. So when you sign up to be an academic mentor, you are falling under a location that has a campus director, and that campus director would be the one that would hold the nonprofit or the LLC. So essentially, you're kind of your own entity in that sense, where you're the one that's collecting the tuition payments
Mhm.
as the academic director. A lot of times, the academic director is the academic mentor, as in Chris's case and in my husband's case. They're both the academic mentor and the campus director. So that doesn't always have to be the case. There could be a campus director that holds that LLC or that nonprofit and then hires an academic mentor to teach the classes. But all of that is done through the paperwork process when you decide to partner with Virtues and, do a cohort. So, and that all comes down from pretty much the campus director as the one who all of the money would go to, all of the tuition. And then they parcel out to the academic mentor, their pay as well as the host site pay, all through
So
MOUs
they would
that
be writing a check to to the college to cover that.
to the
They,
partner
they,
university?
they,
No, the parents do that. The parents pay the partner
yeah,
university. This is just on the Virtues end. The students and the
yeah.
parents are responsible for paying the tuition to the partner university. This is just through Virtues, through the money that,
Essentially, an easy way to think of it is like we're helping you set up your own franchise,
right.
and you're licensing our curriculum, which is our 10 courses that David's built out. And so you basically operate independently, but under us. So you would that's why he's not here tonight. But Larry Maybe Chris can just give a snapshot of what Larry does as a regional director, and he's has 3 MOU signed for campuses that are going to open in the coming year in New Jersey.
Yeah. So, what Larry or Jay, myself, as regional directors or campus directors, our goal is to have various campuses within a certain region, let's say, right? So this campus director could have 3 different campuses under them, and let's say 3 different academic mentors, just to keep numbers clean. So all those. So in my case, I created an LLC. So I would receive a tuition check from the parents or the students, and for their entire tuition payment, and then from there I would pay Virtues Campus and the headquarters, and then I would also pay the academic mentor whatever agreement we come up with for their pay. And then the host site that Linda was discussing is the place where you would be hosting your classes. So if you have a personal business and then you have a specific area that you're renting out, you'd pay that, whatever your rent's going to be as a typical LLC. So what the campus directors or the regional directors, what they're supposed to do is go out and find and create various campuses throughout that region. So they're the ones actually creating the campuses and finding academic mentors to actually teach those classes. That's their primary job. They deal with marketing, they deal with all the finances. So they literally act as a business.
Yeah, so it's an educational entrepreneur. That's the way I like to think of it. That it's a role that we didn't always have. We had academic mentors since the inception of this, but just recently, when Larry came on about a year ago, we developed the regional directors, and so he's basically running all of North Jersey, and he wants to, every 30-minute drive there should be a campus.
Mark, this might be a good time to introduce Linda Falzarano. Headquarters of Virtues Campus is myself, and then Linda, who is my administrative and student services person, and she is the one that handles a lot of the technical things. So that's
I'm
two of us working together.
being trained by Wanda, who has been David's right-hand woman for how many years, David? Over
About
10?
9 years. About 9 years, yeah.
9, okay. And so she's passing the baton off to me, the many batons. And yeah, so I'm the one that you would be mainly dealing with as far as any questions are concerned with, like Chris was saying, starting an LLC. My husband and I just had to do that this year because he's in the middle of a cohort, and Virtues has changed the model over to be a campus director and an academic mentor. So he had to go, and we started an LLC, and it's a very easy process. Takes about 20 minutes. And I think the cost was $130, something along those lines. Very simple process. And it just protects you in the event that anything goes wrong with tuition payments or anything like that, just another level of protection. But in order for us to create the license for you to be a campus director, we do need you to have an LLC or a nonprofit backing. So, and then once you have that, you can determine if you want to be the academic mentor, or if you have someone who wants, that you want to have to be the academic mentor, and then they would be the one that would actually teach the classes. So like I said, right now, Chris is the campus director and academic mentor of his cohort, and my husband is as well. So it can be done. Then when you receive the tuition payments, you're the one that kind of has to keep track of that end. But again, I can help with that in the beginning, to kind of get spreadsheets going or anything like that, that if you're not maybe administratively, so good in that area, I can definitely help and send some resources your way.
And
So
then also Larry's going to be working with us significantly more after the new year. And so he'll be able to be available and to help people consult with and stuff like that. Exactly. Some of the stuff and how to recruit, because he's a VP of marketing. That's what he does full time, but he's moving into doing this more with us after the new year. So he'll be available to help basically reproduce other regional directors throughout the whole country. Like right now, this is kind of just our soft launch because we still need to get a couple more pieces into place before next year when we do a lot of advertising online and stuff like that, and let people know we're really alive and going. So I don't want to keep going too much longer because we already had you guys for an hour. But if there's any more questions, but a lot of this stuff we're going to revisit it again in the fourth week stuff that we've been addressing for the last 20 minutes.
Just
We're going
one
to talk about
follow-up.
site scenarios. Yeah, go ahead.
Can the church start the LLC, or does the
Oh yeah, the
academic
church.
pastor start
Yeah,
it?
and that's what Chris was saying.
I mean, is that the
just
ideal thing for the
yeah,
church to start it?
yeah, the church you could actually use the church's existing one, correct?
Yeah, so because a church is a usually 9 times out of 10 a nonprofit, right? So they're a 501c3. So because they're already a 501c3, those checks can go directly to the 501c3 and get paid out from there. So they can actually handle that if possible. There are some benefits to a nonprofit, which we can't go into right now because that's one of my classes I teach. um, but yeah, the church ideally, that's how it used to be. The church used to be the one that maintained. It used to go through Virtues Campus. Virtues Campus used to pay the church themselves, and then the church would pay out, let's say, the academic mentor. Now it's kind of flipped a little bit, but the main body could be the church itself. So you could actually go directly through their 501c3. Does that make sense?
Makes, yeah, very good sense. I have not sprung this. I'm in the process actually of changing churches, which is kind of crazy, but I'm going back to a church I attended a number of years ago it's just a better ministry fit. I'm an academic. I taught college history for 25 years, and Bible and literature and environmental history and church history and all of that stuff. Um, and I want to spend the rest of my life teaching. I don't want to spend the rest of my life just sitting around getting old. So I'm going to spring this on this pastor. So pray about that, please.
Yeah,
Well,
well, I put a link in there, a link tree, it's called, and so it has all our vital links. So that would be something you would want to share with them, where it has, it's a lot easy to navigate than the website and stuff like that, just because it has the video. It's just one click of a button for everybody. Um, so you'll be able to share that, to forward that on, and if anybody had any else questions, comments before we wrap it up.
I just want to share with Mark. Mark, this is congratulations. This is actually kind of what happened to me. I went back to my old church. I was in another church, and then I went back to my old church, and I'm starting. I have the Virtues Campus now. But as an academic, you really could talk to a church that you're on staff with specifically and talk about, hey, this is a way to supplement income too. Because you can work this in so many different ways, and it makes it so much more beneficial for you, the church, and the students, because of the low cost, and then you don't have overhead costs because it's already a church building. And hypothetically speaking, let's say the church is paid off, they don't pay taxes, and you're using space that probably no one uses at that time. Mondays and Wednesdays, usually in the morning, no one's there. 9 times out of 10. So it's a plus for everyone.
Win-win.
Yep.
So next week we're going to do a deep dive into the academic mentor. So those of you that want to join us for that, we're going to have some of our academic mentors here to be able to share. David's going to give a presentation, just taking you into the nuts and bolts of all the different hats that an academic mentor wears. An administrator, a teacher, a guide. And so all of those things. And then the final week, we're going to dive into the site scenarios, helping you see different places where you could, if you can't do it at the church, maybe the church will help partner with you in finding a site in your area if it's a different type of scenario. So we'll go through dozens of different scenarios, and we'll show you how to build a team, exactly some of the key players that you might need to have. We really see kind of four people: a visionary, a strategist, a mobilizer, and a operator. Somebody that does the day to day. Like Linda is basically our operator that runs the day to day, that answers the emails and so on and so forth. David's the visionary, casting the vision. I help Larry do a lot of strategic stuff. We have other people that work on that as well, and so making sure this happens. And so we want to make sure that because there's a lot to it in the beginning, because it's a startup, and so it's good to have a team. So we're going to lay all that out. So yeah, we're definitely not going to be able to answer all the questions in this one setting, but over the next 4 weeks, we're going to try our best to do that, and then we're going to go into consultations afterwards. We'll try to do it with groups, just through the Zoom and stuff like that, but we'll also do private consultations and stuff like that to help you guys get started and to pitch this to your communities.
Thank you all for being a part of this tonight, and hope we can regather again next week at the same time.
Amen.